Mr. Basil. How's it going?
Very well, Alex. How are you?
I'm very good indeed. What do we have this week, sir?
We've got a film called Honeyboy, which is one I wanted to see definitely because it's got Shia LaBeouf starring as the main character in it. And essentially, it's a tale of, I believe, might be a personal tale of Shia LaBeouf's life of why, or you know, it doesn't state that straight away at first. But anyway, Shia LaBeouf is playing James Fort in the film, and he's got a son in the film, which is played by two actors. One actor is playing the son when he's 22, and this is Otis, by the way, his son. And the actor playing him is Lucas Hedges, which we've seen in Manchester by the Sea. He plays with the boy in Manchester by the Sea. You've seen him in a few other films, but there we go. And then the younger version of Otis is played by a lad called Jupe, which we both think probably deserves the best mention for the best actor in the film, to be honest, because he really did steal the show. But yeah, essentially the tale is it's a father-son tale, and in particular kind of an awful father that this James is to Otis in the film, and you can just kind of imagine this is what Shia LaBeouf's childhood was like, because you hear things he went through a bit of a strange stage after he filmed Transformers and what have you, and I believe that Otis is like a stunt actor, but a child version, and he carries that on into his early 20s as well. But he's obviously got massive personal issues because of how his father treated him younger on. But what did we think of it anyway?
Yeah, so basically the Otis, the child, it shows in two timelines. So it's the child that is an actor to start with, and then later on when we see him with his mental issues, because he develops mental issues later on, that's when it looks like he's more of a stunt than anything else. So but the bulk of the film happens with this child and father. So it's in a motel room somewhere, not necessarily fancy, some, fairly modest motel room.
Yes.
And two of them, father and son, live in this hotel during filming of the child's filming. Now, the father has nothing to do with his career. He's just apparently the manager. Or his manager. Yeah. Nothing to do with the career, Shia LaBeouf. It's just that he's around because an adult needs to be present when there's a child on the set, in general. But I mean, the acting is spectacular in here from both the Shia LaBeouf and what's his name, Jupe.
Jupe.
And obviously it's courageous also from Shia LaBeouf's point of view to play his father, considering
that's a very hard role, isn't it?
Exactly. We find out what he had to go through, the abuse he had to go through from his father as he was developing as a child, which obviously shows later on how, what consequences that had. But I found it fantastic because it was besides the acting that grips you from moment one, the child actor Noah Jupe is much more, to me it showed much more maturity in the role than Shia LaBeouf. It showed almost like he's better. He's showing that I understand that his father is not what he should be, but he still copes with it as a child.
Yes,
that's what I thought. Didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he took it on very well, didn't he? His father's stubbornness and what have you. And as I say, James Fort in the film is almost playing like his manager. I think there is some like, I'm not sure at the beginning of the movie. There's a few scenes where he's on set with Otis on the films he is. And I'm not sure if he's like a sound manager or something. I think he has got something to do with the movie sets.
He tries to be.
Yeah, he tries to be. Yeah. But his main source of income is obviously what the child's skill, in the acting or stunt acting, whatever that may be. And he's constantly pushing him.
Yeah, it seems that he controls the finances and everything, because I believe that's what the law is. Until you hit 18, you need an adult to take care of your finances.
Yeah, and he's constantly pushing him. And they both live in this kind of like run-down motel when he's not seeing his mum. But yeah, there's a lot of passive aggressiveness in the film from James's side of things, and there's a lot of conflict, obviously, with like the neighbourhood that they live in. You can tell there's just a bit of a tense atmosphere, and it all kind of stems down to this guy. Really, it's like he's just bringing it all on himself, Yeah, I thought it was interesting, man. And there's a little bit of a nice kind of like, I wouldn't really call it love story, but it's like there's a nice like connection between what's the actress's name? I think it's FKA Twigs. I think her name is.
I think she's a singer also.
Yes, yeah, FKA Twigs. That's her name.
Yeah,
And so she like lives in a neighborhood, and she gets quite close to Otis, the young boy, and like that's kind of nice to watch unfold as a contrast to the hateful relationship that Otis has with his father. To see someone that actually does care about him and can realise he's being messed up. But yeah, he definitely got the thumbs up for me. It's almost like a personal diary or monologue, isn't it, for Shia?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's what I liked about Shia's character is the fact that as a father, he knows that. I mean, we do hear that he's come out of prison. He spent time in prison, so
we do know this.
We know that, and he knows that he's not a model father, let's call it. He knows this, and he still tries to put on this macho type of figure for his son, just to try and make up for that. And that's played very well by Shia LaBeouf. I don't know if it's because it's based on a true story, or because he's just such a good actor, maybe both. But that's what I liked. It came very out of his acting. And also there are moments when the child defies that and says, you're a bit of a loser. You're not the perfect dad.
Yeah.
Why don't you just be honest and let's talk about it and be upfront with it?
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't get the right reactions, the child. But what did you thought of how it looked like?
I thought I mean, the era it's set in must be what? It must be late 80s or early 90s, early 90s maybe, yeah. And I think they got that bang on. The costume design's good for everyone. It's kind of got like a jaded kind of look to it. How it's the film that they use, exactly. And I think they get that spot on. I like that motel room looks. The lighting in the motel, not the room, but outside the room and in that compound, on the property looked artificial, which almost felt like symbolize the artificial character of the dad. Yes,
he's like 90% of his life he's faking it.
Yeah,
faking it.
It's like this pent up, can't show emotion kind of toxic masculinity thing going on, isn't it? Yes. You know what I mean? It's like there's one scene which is quite heartbreaking. I think he's staring at, it's like 3/4 way into the film when there's always you already seen quite a lot of horrors of them arguing, the son and the father, and he's looking at James on the bed, and there's this like cutscene of what he just imagined should happen, which is James coming up to his son and going, despite all of the arguments, I just want you to know I love you and I want the best for you, and that's all that matters to me, James. I'm sorry I can't show it. And then it just cuts straight back to reality, and obviously that hasn't happened. He's still asleep on the bed.
That's a very good scene.
And it's just I think it's just a story of like men not being able to admit emotion almost, especially to their own son, and the end result is his son ends up in a psych ward with an alcoholic. He has a crash at the start of the film, doesn't he? That's how the film begins. The actor is pissed, crashed his car, and it all stems from his dad essentially just because his dad can't express his love for him. And that's a very true story, I think, with a lot of people. Whenever someone's go on,
and obviously the anger issues also, which are shown in Dad.
Yes.
Dad was an angry person, and he turns out to be an angry alcoholic person too. So it just shows how important that part of a boy's life is.
It's like putting your own interests first, because obviously Otis in the film has got like a stepdad, which his mother is dating, and there's a great scene when that stepdad comes to visit James for obviously the first time, and rather than just make it a normal experience so to please his son, James makes it into this really crazy situation where they almost get up into a fight, and it's just so unnecessary. And because he puts his own interest first, which is just that he just doesn't like this guy,
Yeah, so it's a really good film actually. Honeyboy, it's called. It's on Prime Video.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, so thanks a lot.
Take care, Alex.
Talk to you next week. Bye. Bye.